This channel is about dreams and life transformation, but sometimes, from childhood, the environment, on purpose or not, tear out our wings so that we cannot fly. Today, I want to tell a story of my own and how an environment can affect our potential and dreams. This is the story of how I lost myself, but then found path and regained my potential as an adult. A story to discuss, the sad story, but with the happy ending. Let's get started. Sometimes I sincerely don't understand how I was able to retain grains of passion and dreams within me, and I'm really curious about how it is with you. Did your dreams just inexorably remind of themselves, no matter how much you drove them away? I'm a creative person, and I was a creative child. I could disappear in my thoughts for long, long hours, where I was a singer, an actress, or an artist. Interestingly, I remember the thoughts of a 5-year-old me. Music made me feel so good and clear in my soul that I dreamt of giving others this feeling. I had a rather artistic nature, and this was simply not acceptable in the post Soviet space.
Oh, stop smiling. This is not a happy place.
At first, even before school, my passion and artistry brought tender smiles to the lips of adults. I must admit that my mother always praised my work, dancing, and endeavors, and she still does. But children feel everything. I guess my mom just was afraid for me. We were not from a like poor family. I think kind of bit below the average one. And sometimes she herself find herself in a kind of difficult circumstances in life. Therefore, very quickly and clearly through praise, I heard that this artistic world of mine won't bring money. I've heard that only chosen ones could be successful in a creativity world, in arts, and on a stage. And even if there is income for a regular artist, it is extremely unstable.
No money, no jobs, no prospects.
Find something more practical. You need to get a job on a factory, or, if you're lucky, in a good company. That's the thing all adults were saying to me. I don't blame them. They wanted the best to me and simply could not understand how this internal contradiction and misunderstanding tormented my soul. And I'm not saying I'm chosen one, but literally, this type of creative personality, like creativity, chose me. Like, some are good at math, I'm not. Like, math chose them and creativity chose me. This is how how I was born. I don't know. Since my undertakings were always only from me, adults themselves did not contribute to the development of my hobbies. And by the age of like 8, 9, I was noticeably inferior to children who went to the vocal clubs or drawing courses or studied music, and children in many ways are animals who are looking to their place under the sun of a harsh society. They laughed at my work, and I, like the wildest animal among them, laughed with them and said, "Yeah, look how ugly it turned out." After all, it's better to laugh with everyone than to be the one everyone laughs at. There was no internet at that time, and learning something on your own at the age of 9 was almost impossible.
This stale. You will never make it in this town.
So the public manifestation of my creative nature were almost over, but then life gave me a new blow. Hard, painful, and many times. I get incredibly angry remembering middle and high school, and I hate one teacher with all my soul. I will never forgive her. At school, we had both music and drawing, so one way or another, at a minimal level, my missing talents came out to the surface. But since we all were thought crappy, I didn't stand out.
Yeah, we're all lost.
Only those who drew well or studied separately from the class were singled out, so I stopped caring about it. But in addition, for those compulsory disciplines, we had language and literature lessons. I think the point is clear. We studied the structure of language, read and analyzed it, and also read classics. And once or twice a month, we wrote essays on the different topics. And I get very angry when I remember these moments. Either because it happened too often or because the writing has incredible meaning and resonates with my soul. But our teacher loved to read bad essays in front of the whole class. At the same time, the student, and that was me very often, had to stand up and listen to her throwing mud at you. Well, just listen, guys. What a horror! Who wrote like that? And then you get a bad mark for the measureness and poetry of your literary genius. Time after time, year after year, it hurt incredibly then. Shame and fear were ringing in my ears while I stood with my head down and listened how she humiliated me. But that scar began to hurt with renewed vigor when a dozen years later, when I was taking first steps to get my potential back, I realized that the part of my writing was so shitty. And it was shitty. I'm not arguing with that. It was bad. But it was that way because I was experiencing the most true inspiration. It is an intoxicated feeling that takes you right onto the story you're writing. There is nothing around in the world, only you and your fantasies. And they are so deep and so bright. However, the thing is that the downside of this state for a child, a teenager, is that the consciousness, and especially hands, cannot keep up with imagination. And the sentences, the speech, it becomes crumbled, chaotic, and loses logic for those who read it for the first time. A person could not get into your head. And when I reread in a full confidence that this time I will get it perfectly because I poured my soul into it, I again plugged into the world of this fantasy, so understandable to me and unknown to the reader. Broken syllable, not enough narratives, and broken thoughts. And again, about Mark and humiliating. But you know what? In this story is the most epically idiotic twist. It is that a teacher of language and literature, never taught us to write. There was never a lesson on how to fucking write. Obviously, the hope was that we would read a lot and somehow understand how to compose in text. It worked for a few, but the rest got treated like crap. This story is about how the thing that made my soul tremble and bloom with colors was trampled, ridiculed, and hidden away by me in order to protect myself from pain. Over time, I began to believe that my dreams were truly unrealistic. Singing is entertainment for only yourself when no one is watching. Drawing? Well, I can do a couple of redraws of more talented people. And writing, I couldn't even associate myself with all that. By the way, I didn't read for a long time because I was ashamed of myself and my hobbies, that I wasn't intelligent enough, and I didn't read classic. I write crap and I read crap. Every time I tried to express my ideas, I was stopped and told that that was not for me. I started to go with the flow, choosing more practical directions in life that didn't really appeal to me. I wish I could say that I felt that I'm losing myself, but no, I didn't have time to find myself in the beginning. It was hidden from me. I just felt empty. I tried not to stand out. I wasn't strong enough in spirit or punchy enough to, no matter what, look for ways to realize that no one showed me, taught me, or approved of. Years passed. To be honest, I don't remember my childhood and teenage years very well, but I definitely stopped even feeling the urge to express myself. to be creative. I simply existed. I knew that I had to study and get the job that feeds me. I chose a career that seemed stable but didn't bring me joy. And to be honest, I choose the path on the basis of, well, it's popular and accountant always has work, so okay. I had ambitions though. I was not going to study bad or be a bad specialist, but I didn't also felt any warm feelings towards my occupation. My life became an endless circle of emptiness and monotony. Even in my free from work time, I forced myself to live like everyone else, like this is what I'm supposed to do, play sports that everyone else does, watch TV series and meet with friends. These are all good things, but later realized that I filled my days with this as much as possible in the hope that I would stop feeling this oppressive, burning emptiness. I didn't feel satisfied, but I didn't know how to change that. I just lived, not realizing that I could possibly live differently. There were two turning points in my life, but there is one thing that overall is most important is a safe place. Like this is a basic need of yours, so I was lucky enough I had friends that don't make fun of other people, don't throw mud at them, don't make fun of others' dreams or failures even. So if you don't feel safe, it is normally that you cannot start transforming your life. You should make your space somehow safe. The first time my world turned upside down when I started reading again. At the first I was very ashamed. I read fan fiction, then short stories by just people on the internet, then long amateur stories from these people until I discovered fantasy. But how ashamed I was. I read for days, hundreds of pages a day, but I didn't tell anyone. Even though I was in a safe space, but I still was afraid that they would make fun of me. And then this is some kind of a obsession. It's hard to me to explain, but I just could not stop thinking about writing something too. Like these people whose stories I was reading. It sounds really simple. If you want so much to write a story, then write it down. But this thought was so alien, frightening. Could not appropriate it to myself. I simply could not compare that I could really do it.
What's wrong? This is crazy.
This is like if someone says, if you want, paint the sky orange. That's how incredible it seemed. But I woke up and fell asleep with pictures before my eyes. The scenes, the plots, I could not stop it. This is so strange. Therefore, I wonder if this is the case for everyone, even not for artistry, someone like to run, someone like to assemble incredible things from Legos. But with all my heart, I want to know how you feel it inside yourself. Is that the same? How about oblivion? How's the itch? Maybe obsessive thoughts? Because this desire was stronger than me. And I wrote my first story. It was fan fiction, but one character was my own. In the description, I was able to indicate that this is my first job, and I asked to support me. By the way, it was very short story, but 36 pages long. I posted it in parts, and then I realized why my essays weren't working out at school. A kind person in the comments encouraged me and explained the moments where it felt like I got carried away and forgot that the reader doesn't see the picture through my eyes, that I needed to be more specific, more verbal. A simple person from the internet, not teacher at all, but there about 10 messages on the internet taught me more than 7 years at school. I've been writing ever since. I gradually switched to the just fantasy, sketches, short stories, competitions, and literary mini courses. Now I'm trying to write a book for a second time. Anyways, of course, I was scared along the way, but I was able to show my friends few stories. They always supported me. I'm thinking of learning poetry because my soul demands it. But the sad thing is that I feel that I could actually be a writer if I hadn't been broken. My feelings at the moment of writing, it's like breathing fresh air after getting out from the big city. This makes my hatred toward this teacher even more fierce. This moment allowed me to allow myself hobbies, to try them, to stumble into them, but not to push them away from me. I learned to allow myself to associate myself with those activities that I want and not someone else expects from me. The second turning point, not so prosaic, but just as turning point. I was talking to a friend one day and said something along the lines like, well, everyone hates their job. I said this because, well, I hated it. My mom didn't seem to enjoy her job either. The internet is full of memes about hating Mondays. But my friend sincerely surprised. She said she generally likes her job and her husband completely in love with the things she's doing for a job. Of course, sometimes they grumble and there are some unpleasant moments, but in general, they like their job. And I remember the stupor in my consciousness. It's if a flywheel of thoughts was simply blown by a tornado and now I'm lost in space. These words did not leave me for a long time. I could not stop thinking about this miracle. And then, when you think so intensely about something, life begins to change. By the way, I have a video about this phenomenon, how only thinking can rapidly change your life. I realized that I wanted that too. And I want not only to stop hating my job, I want to stop hating my life. I started looking for ways to get back to that I really enjoyed. I started reading self-help books, watching inspiring videos, and talking to people who had already achieved success in their dreams. I realized that at any age you can change your life and start something new. I literally learned to live again. I made mistakes. I learned to listen to myself. It seems that at some point I was so desperately looking for a new me that I decided to try absolutely everything from writing a book to fencing. This path is not easy, and it was extremely difficult for me that I was already 25 plus years old. I have an education, a job, a life that I know how to live somehow, and in which I already have some obligations. I couldn't afford to give up and go to live with my mommy for some time.
Could you take me off?
So I desperately pushed myself, burned out, desperated, and started over. I did a lot of things wrong. Although I gained experience, I learned my path is part of me and I accepted. But then the pressure on me was that I was starting late. I had a little time. I'm late. I was late to succeed. And such haste and constant acceleration of oneself with a stick does not lead to anything good. For me, it's just increased panic attacks. In fact, my tossing and trying gave me an important knowledge. I roughly understood how some of my hobbies work. It turned out, for example, that for me personally, playing a music instrument is not fun at all. I don't like learning it and I wouldn't be able to do it for years. I got to know from what stages does professional work consists and of whether I have enough strength to truly devote my life to this. I made an appointment with a therapist who taught me to slow down, fill up, and listen to myself. I still want to succeed in a lot of ways, but I have chosen one main direction, this channel, because Do you remember how, as a child, I dreamt of giving people some feelings of happiness that I experienced? With this channel, I express myself, of course, but I really want to give you back your wings. I want to see you fly towards your dreams. I want to multiply your inspiration. Gradually, I started drawing and writing again. I found courses and workshops that helped me develop my skills. I began to actively look for opportunities that I simply had not noticed before. The Bioderm effect, which I talked about in previous video, began to work at a full capacity. I have regained my potential and now I'm moving slowly, but I'm moving towards the life I love. This story is a reminder that it's never too late to return to your dreams. Even though the environment once killed your potential, you can always find the strength and opportunity to bring it back. The main thing is to believe in yourself and not to be afraid. Take the very, very tiny little first step. A little advice from me: start small. If you're scared to tell anyone about your undertaking, don't tell it. Do it for yourself. Then maybe find a community and let them know that you're very new and you're looking for support. Fortunately, the world have some good people out there. Even the internet has. Share in the comments if you have had a similar experiences, moments in your life when you had lost yourself, but then found your way back, or you're still looking for the way back. How did you regain your potential? Let's inspire each other. Thank you for being with me today. Please subscribe to the channel and like. See you in the next videos. And remember, shine bright, dream light, and never stop dreaming.